I'm 42 years old. Married for 11 years. 2 kids. Mortgage. Dog. The kind of life that looks aggressively normal from the outside. Until 3 months ago, I would have told you I was lucky. My wife, Laura, and I met in our late 20s. We built everything together: careers, a house, routines, inside jokes. I work in finance at a mid-sized company. She runs her own marketing consultancy from home. We weren't perfect, but we were steady. Or at least I thought we were. Work had been stressful the past year. Layoffs. Restructuring. New management. My HR manager, Daniel, came in about 8 months ago. Early 40s. Calm. Measured. People-focused. The kind of guy who says he's there to support you. I complained to him more than I should have. About burnout. About feeling undervalued. Even about my marriage feeling distant. I thought those conversations were confidential. I thought my wife was on my team. I was wrong about both. Laura and I had been drifting, but in the subtle way long marriages drift. Less sex. More logistics. We talked about grocery lists instead of dreams. But I never thought we were in danger. If anything, I thought stress at work was the bigger threat. Daniel made it a point to check in on me. He'd close his office door and ask how I was really doing. I told him about panic attacks I hadn't even told Laura about. I admitted I sometimes felt like a fraud at work. That I was scared of being pushed out. He nodded sympathetically. Said vulnerability was strength. Around the same time, Laura became protective of her phone. She'd angle the screen away. Smile at texts. Say it was clients. I noticed. Of course I noticed. But I trusted her. Completely. When you've built a life with someone for over a decade, you don't jump to betrayal. You assume stress. You assume phases. You assume wrong. The first rail crack appeared on a Tuesday. I had stayed home sick. Around noon, Laura's phone buzzed on the kitchen counter while she was in the shower. I wasn't snooping. I swear I wasn't. But the notification preview showed a name, Daniel. My stomach dropped in a way I can't fully describe. The message read, "Last night was worth every risk." I just stood there staring at it. My brain trying to rearrange the words into something innocent. Maybe a networking event? Maybe a joke? When she came downstairs, I asked casually, "Do you know someone named Daniel?" She froze. Just for half a second. But I saw it. "Yeah. From a client referral group," she said too quickly. I nodded. Pretended to accept it. But my chest felt hollow. Like something had been scooped out. I didn't confront her then. I wanted proof. I wanted to believe I was paranoid. Deep down, though, I already knew. Over the next week, I became someone I don't recognize. I checked phone bills. Late-night data usage. Calls during hours she claimed to be asleep. I watched her facial expressions when her phone buzzed. I hated myself for it. Then I did the thing I swore I'd never do. One night, after she fell asleep, I unlocked her phone. I knew her passcode. We'd never hidden that from each other before. There it was. Messages. Explicit. Intimate. Familiar. Photos I had never received. And worst of all, conversations about me. He wrote, "Does he suspect anything?" She replied, "No. He's too wrapped up in work and his insecurities." My insecurities. The ones I'd confessed privately to Daniel. In his office. With the door closed. They weren't just having an affair. They were dissecting me together. The real betrayal wasn't even the sex. Not at first. It was the strategy. Daniel had written, "If he files another complaint about workload, we'll document performance concerns. We need leverage." Laura responded, "He's scared of losing this job. That's his weak spot." My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. He knew my fears because I had handed them to him. She knew my fears because I trusted her with my life. And they were using them. Using my anxiety about layoffs. Using my panic attacks. Using my self-doubt. There were months of messages. Dinner dates while I thought she was with clients. Hotel receipts saved under fake names. Jokes about how clueless I was. I felt physically ill. I sat on the edge of our bed, staring at the woman I had loved for 14 years, and realized I had never been more alone. I confronted her the next morning. I didn't yell at first. I just said, "I saw the messages." She went pale. Then defensive. "You went through my phone?" That was her first move. Not denial. Not apology. I said, "You're sleeping with my HR manager." Silence. Then, "It wasn't supposed to happen." As if that mattered. I asked how long. 6 months. 6 months of dinners. Hotels. Strategy sessions about my job performance. I asked if she loved him. She hesitated. That hesitation felt worse than if she'd said yes. "It's complicated," she said. Nothing about it felt complicated to me. It felt calculated. I told her I knew about the conversations about my complaints at work. Her face changed when I said that. That was when she realized how much I knew. The confrontation turned ugly fast. She claimed she felt invisible in our marriage. Said I was emotionally distant. That Daniel listened. I laughed. Actually laughed. "He listened because it's his job," I said. "And then you both weaponized it." She accused me of being paranoid. Said the work comments were taken out of context. I pulled up screenshots. Her tears started then. Real tears. Or convincing ones. She swore she never meant to hurt me professionally. That it was just venting. But venting doesn't look like coordinated leverage. I asked if Daniel had influenced any HR decisions about me. She said she didn't know. Didn't know. That answer shattered something fundamental in me. The idea that my home was safe. That my marriage was separate from office politics. Everything blurred together into one massive betrayal. I confronted Daniel 2 days later. Closed-door meeting. Just like our confidential chats. I told him I knew about the affair. He didn't even look embarrassed. Just irritated. "This is a personal matter," he said calmly. "Let's keep it separate from work." Separate. I asked him about documenting performance concerns. About leverage. He claimed it was standard HR protocol. I realized then how naive I had been. I had walked straight into their narrative. My stress, my complaints, all reframed as instability. Within a week, I was put on a performance improvement plan. Coincidence, apparently? I stopped sleeping. I replayed every conversation in my head. Every vulnerable moment in that office. I felt stupid. Exposed. Humiliated. The woman I loved and the man tasked with protecting employee welfare had built a relationship on my weaknesses. And I had handed them the blueprint. At home, Laura oscillated between remorse and defensiveness. One night she'd say, "I made a mistake." The next, "You pushed me away." She insisted it started as just talking. Shared frustrations. Emotional intimacy. I asked her what she told him about me. "Everything," she whispered. "Everything. Our arguments. My therapy sessions. My fears about aging. Even intimate details about our sex life." I felt stripped bare. Friends noticed something was wrong. I told them we were having issues. I couldn't bring myself to explain the full story. The shame was suffocating. Not just that she cheated, but that she chose someone positioned above me professionally. Someone who could influence my livelihood. It felt like being betrayed in 2 arenas at once, love and survival. I started questioning every memory. Were the last 6 months even real? Or was I just a background character in their story? Our kids are 9 and 7. They sensed the tension immediately. Laura and I started sleeping in separate rooms. We told them it was because I snore. I watched her make breakfast for them like nothing had happened. Pack lunches. Smile. I wondered how someone could compartmentalize like that. I began documenting everything. Screenshots. Emails. HR notices. I consulted an employment lawyer quietly. Turns out relationships between HR managers and employees' spouses aren't technically illegal. Just unethical. Unethical doesn't always protect you. At work, colleagues grew distant. Whispers. I don't know what narrative Daniel shared, but I could feel the shift. At home, Laura said she'd end it. She showed me a message where she told him they couldn't continue. He replied, "We'll see." That message scared me more than all the others. Because it sounded like someone who still believed he had power. And maybe he did. 2 weeks later, I was formally written up for declining performance and emotional volatility. Emotional volatility. The irony almost made me laugh. I asked Laura if she had told him about our fights. About my reaction to discovering them. She said she might have mentioned I was not taking it well. Not taking it well. I felt like I was drowning in gaslighting. I began therapy twice a week. Not to save the marriage, I think I knew that was over, but to keep myself functional. My therapist asked me why the betrayal cut so deep. It's not just the affair, I said. It's that she stood next to someone while they evaluated my professional future. That's what haunts me. Intimacy is one thing. But alliance? That's war. Eventually, I asked her directly, "Did you ever defend me?" She looked confused. To him, I clarified. When I wasn't in the room. Did you ever say I was a good husband? A good father? A competent professional? She didn't answer immediately. I didn't want to make it awkward, she finally said. That sentence ended something in me. Not screaming. Not tears. Just quiet finality. I realized she had chosen alignment with him over loyalty to me. Not once. Repeatedly. We began discussing separation logistics. Who stays in the house? How to tell the kids? Finances. It felt surreal. Like negotiating the collapse of a company we co-founded. I moved into the guest room permanently. Some nights I'd hear her crying. I didn't go comfort her. I didn't feel cruel. I felt empty. I reported the relationship to upper management anonymously. An investigation opened. Daniel was placed on temporary leave. Laura found out and accused me of trying to ruin her life. I told her she'd been fine risking mine. The investigation dragged on for weeks. In the meantime, my PIP remained active. Eventually, Daniel resigned for personal reasons. No public scandal. No apology. Just a quiet exit. Laura claimed she hadn't expected things to spiral this far. That she thought it was contained. Affairs are never contained. My job stabilized somewhat once he left, but the damage to my reputation lingered. At home, we told the kids we were separating, to work on ourselves. I moved into a small apartment 15 minutes away. The first night alone, the silence was unbearable. I kept replaying the message. Last night was worth every risk. Apparently, I was the risk. We're in the middle of divorce proceedings now. There's no dramatic courtroom battle. Just paperwork and quiet resentment. Laura says she still cares about me. That she never meant for it to become strategic. I don't know if I believe her. Sometimes I miss her. Or maybe I miss who I thought she was. I question myself constantly. Was I inattentive? Did I push her away? Therapy helps untangle that. Neglect isn't the same as betrayal. Stress isn't justification for conspiracy. What lingers most is the humiliation. That 2 people sat in rooms, office and hotel, discussing my fears like case notes. I've become more guarded now. At work. In relationships. Even with friends. Trust feels like a liability. And I hate that. because I used to be open. If there's a lesson here, I'm still figuring it out. Maybe it's that vulnerability requires discernment. Not everyone who listens is safe. Maybe it's that betrayal isn't always explosive. Sometimes it's quiet collaboration behind closed doors. I don't know if Laura ever truly loved Daniel, or if he was just an escape. What I know is that I loved her. Completely. And I believed in the privacy of my marriage and the confidentiality of my workplace. Both illusions collapsed at the same time. I'm rebuilding now. Slowly. Therapy. Time with my kids. Looking for a new job. Some nights I still wake up with that hollow feeling in my chest. Not just from losing my wife, but from realizing that my deepest fears, the ones I whispered in confidence, became tools against me. And I'm still learning how to live with that.